we plan for our profits? We'll plan for our profits if at all we know how much cost we incur to produce a particular to produce a product. Now, and how do we ascertain those costs that we incur? We'll do what we refer as break-even point, BEP. So for us to determine BEP, we have break-even point. We have two mechanisms that we do use. Let me just open whiteboard that I demonstrate that. So for us to plan, we have to determine BEP, break-even point. Who can define for us BEP? I know it's not your first time you're interacting with this term BEP. Break-even point. We'll give it a try. Eda, Chepto, define for us break-even point.
Break-even point in economics, yeah, it's the point at which total cost and total revenue are equal.
Yes, thank you. That's the point where the organization is not making profit or is not making loss. That first of all, we have to determine that level as a business. Now, once we determine that level, then we can now plan for the profit. That if we know, I've given an example, Kim, that if at all Kim, we require 10 students in a class to be able to, the amount of money we are collecting from 10 students, we'll be able to pay salaries, we'll be able to pay rent and other costs that will be associated with the class. Then now from there, we can now plan and say how many students can fill in this particular room. If at all a classroom can accommodate 50, in that case, you are planning to maximize on profit. That if we get 50 students, then we'll be maximizing on profit because the cost of to maintain that classroom will only require 10 students. That now the other 40 will be giving us the money we collect from 40 extra 40 students will give us profit. And remember, as we do plan that, there are also limitations that will come in. So for us to analyze break-even point, we have the geometry. Just a minute. Yeah, we'll have algebraic analysis. And for algebraic analysis, that's why you are taught about break-even point is equals fixed cost. So equal fixed cost over contribution per unit. Contribution per unit. And contribution, for us to get contribution per unit is equal to selling price minus variable cost. For us to get contribution, I've said contribution is equal to selling price minus variable costs per unit. So for us to define variable costs, these are costs that change according to the level of production. That if we produce more, we'll incur high cost. If we produce less, then we'll also incur less cost. If we don't produce at all, then we'll not incur the cost. And I give you an example. If you are considering, let's say, Kim as a business, if at all we don't have classes, then part of variable cost will not pay salaries for lecturers because they cannot earn if they have not worked. So if we don't have classes, then they will not earn. But if we have classes, then they will earn. The more classes we have, then the more lecturers are likely to earn. So if we are computing now the variable cost, and then we have to get how much variable cost do we pay, then we in cumulative, then we divide by the number of students to get variable cost per student. Then we'll subtract that from the now selling price. Well, that's the total fee you are paying. So if at all we compute and see variable cost takes about 15,000 and you are paying 35,000, then you would say 20,000 goes to contribution. Now that contribution means it will pay partly on fixed cost and partly will also go to profit, because you can't make profit from one student. Even if the costs of your cost per student is say 10,000, you are paying 35,000, we can't say that now that 25,000 goes directly to profit. We only make profit if we have a certain number of students. If we don't have that number, then we may not make profit. So we have defined the break-even point. But now at your level, you are supposed to use the graphical format. What you need to know is graphical format. Graphical format. So for algebraic, we were just to mention, but you should know how to evaluate break-even point using graphical format. Now, how do we get break-even point using this? That means we are going to draw a graph. And as you draw the graph, there are three curves that will be covered. So we have three. First curve will be fixed cost curve. Fixed cost curve. Remember, in our formula, we have somewhere we have fixed cost as within the formula of break-even point. That means if we are drawing the using graphical format, we still also come up with the fixed cost curve. Then curve number 2 will be variable. Sorry, not variable. Total cost curve. We have total cost curve. Now, total cost curve, it means we are going to add the variable cost plus fixed cost to get the total cost. And remember, there's a variable cost in that part of contribution, we have variable cost. So that element we also have to bring in. So now if we add variable cost to our fixed cost, then we get total cost. Then the third curve we'll do is sales curve. Sales curve. And sales curve within the formula, again, from the break-even point, you can see we have a selling price. So in that case, we'll come up with the sales curve to represent that selling price. So it's still, we are going to use the formula we have for break-even point, only that now we are going to use it in coming up with a graph. And this is how that graph will look like. This is how the graph look like. So on this side, we'll represent sales in sales, and sales are measured in shillings. These are measured in shillings. Then here we'll have level of output, level of output. And the level of output is measured in units. Okay, we are using units because it will depend. If we are dealing with the Kenya Institute of Management, the level of output will refer to them as students, because those are the units we are producing, the number of students. If at all we are making maize, for instance, we'll measure them in kilograms or in tons or bags. We can measure, we use kilograms, tons, or bags. If at all we are producing, let's say, other commodities like bread, will count pieces. So that's why we are using units. So it depends with whatever we are producing. Now, who can define, because we have said we'll have 3 curves, The first curve will be fixed cost curve. Who can define for us fixed cost? Who can define for us fixed cost? Felista Mutui. Felista Mutui, define for us fixed cost. Felista, if it's not in. Estella Wanjiku. Stella Wanjiku.
Well, fixed cost is the cost which does not vary with activity or output.
Very well. This is a cost that does not vary, depend on the level of output. That even if we produce more, we still spend the same amount. We produce less, we still spend the same amount. An example of it can be rent. Rent is a fixed cost. And look at precisely at Kenya Institute of Management that either we have classes, like now we don't have classes physically at in the branches, but now we have to pay that rent. Get it? Because it's a fixed cost, we will still have to pay that rent. And in that classroom, if at all the classroom has been made to accommodate 60 students, and we only have 10 students, we cannot go and negotiate with the landlord that since you have 10 students, allow us to pay a sixth of the rent, because we planned to accommodate 60, we only have 10. So allow us also to pay a sixth of the rent. It's not practical. We'll have to pay, you refer to it as a fixed cost. So with that definition, then it means when we are drawing the graph, that fixed cost will be straight, parallel. So we refer to this as a fixed cost curve. Fixed cost curve. It's parallel to the level of production. It does not change. Either we produce more or we produce less, it does not change. Remember to put here 0. Then the second curve is total cost curve. And total cost curve, I've said total cost is a fixed cost plus variable cost. That if we produce 0 units, then our variable cost will be 0. But the more we produce, the more we have. So our total cost curve will always start from where fixed cost starts. Then it will gradually grow as the level of production grows. As we produce more, then we'll also incur higher total cost. So we refer to that as total cost curve. Then sales curve. If we produce 0 units, then we'll also sell 0 units. So in that case, our sales curve will always originate from 0. It will always originate from 0, and it will keep growing. As we produce more, we also sell more. So it will take this shape, a sales curve. That's the sales curve. Now, at the point where total cost curve and fixed cost curve intersect, at this point, this is what we are referring as a break-even point. At this angle, below the break-even point, we'll be making loss. At this angle, if our sales is below that angle, we'll be making loss. If at all we are here at this angle, we'll be making profits. We'll be making profit. Now, I want to imagine we are computing for Kenya Institute of Management, and the break-even point is 20 students. Now, if at all the break-even point is 20 students, then we'll look at the classrooms. Now, apparently, we can, okay, do we have, since you are doing online, do you have a limit, the maximum number that this online, the Google Meet can accommodate? Anyone who know? Class? Anyone who know the maximum number Google Meet can accommodate. Felista Mtui. Margaret Wanjiru. What's the maximum number that can meet on a Google Meet per session? Paulina Mbeza. 150. Margaret says 150. Is it true? It's about 100, unless if you expand. It's about 100. Now, imagine if at all it's only 100 can be accommodated, and we get application for 100. Okay, even if it's 150, and we get application for 200 students who like to join a particular class. What resolutions are we likely to make? If at all we have to conduct class on Google Meet and it can accommodate 150 students, and now we are getting where we have application for 200 students, what are resolution we can make so that we don't mistreat other students? Hello, class. Anne Pasanka. If at all this Google Meet can accommodate maximum of 150 students, and for some reasons a number of students who have applied to join us are 200, what can we do to accommodate the extra 50? Or do we turn them away? Thank you, Njoki. We can divide them into 2 groups. Now, with the break-even point, since we have said our break-even point is 20, if we get 20 students, we are able to pay all expenses associated with that class. But you have also said that the maximum we can accommodate is 150. Then it means this between 20 and 150, we refer to this as margin of safety or level of safety. Why? Sorry. Why do we refer to it as margin of safety or level of safety? Because between 20 and 150, we can only make profit. That if at all we have more than 20 students, then we'll make profit. That means the business school, it will be sustainable. At least we can generate something to pay back the investors or the owners of the business. But if we get below 20, then it means we'll be going back to the investors to seek for financial support for them to pay for bills, for our bills. Now, if we get above 150, then for us to avoid inconvenience, then we'll have to split the group into 2. When we split the group into 2, then it means this way, that we'll have 2 lecturers at any given time. That if I'm teaching this group, the other lecturer will be teaching the next group. Or if I have to teach both groups, then it means I'll have double work. And then if I'll have double work, then also should be paid double payment. You get it? So the variable cost or the total cost will change. So when the total cost change, then it also means that the break-even point will not remain at 20. The break-even will increase, because if at all we'll have 2 groups, then now the break-even for one group will be 20, another break-even for another group is 20. Then in that case, the break-even point will have shifted from 20 to 40. Get it? The other way we can look at expanding or looking at another system that can accommodate more than 200 or can accommodate more than 200. Now, if we look for those systems, then it means we have to pay for it. You cannot be given for free. We cannot have a system that we'll use for free and it's serving us that magnitude, that high magnitude. So in that perspective, we'll have to, our fixed cost will change. So whichever way, so if we get more than 150, we are likely to make extraordinary decision, and some of them you have informed me, we can split the group into two, or we can look for another system that can accommodate both, can accommodate that huge number. But as we get that system that can accommodate that huge number, we are also likely to not to benefit from it, because the control of those groups will be technical, those joining, raiding, and all that. So we'll have a lot of inconveniences, and or our service level will go down. So that's how we come up with a break-even point. Let me look for a question, and then we do it practically so that you see how you can get. And as I look for the question, I'd like to ask if any one of you has a graph paper or a square rules paper. I'll ask one by one so that you confirm for me you have a graph paper or you have a graph paper, so that if we draw, because for me, whatever I'm going to draw, it will only give us, it will be a sketch, because my whiteboard does not have the graph. But if you draw with the graph and you use the algebraic method, we should get the same answer. Hold on. Just hold on as I get a question that we want to tackle together. Yes. So class, write this question down. Write that question down. If you are done, let me know. If you are done, let me know. Charity, are you through with writing that question? Anne, are you through with writing that question? Felista, are you through with writing that question, or will require some few time? Hello. Anne is not yet through. I'll give you one more minute. Ben is through. Felista is not yet. So I'll give you one more minute. Okay, Stella is done, Pasanka is done. If you are done, let me know so that we start off together. Thank you for those who are done. So let's now, because we want to come up with a graph, then we must identify the points of coordinate. And the points of coordinate, so we'll come up with a table to assist us identify points of coordinate. This is how the table will look like. So we'll have level, just a minute. Level of output, level of output, and then we'll have fixed cost, fixed cost. Then we'll have variable cost, variable cost, then we'll have total cost, total cost, and then we'll have sales, and then finally we'll have profit. Draw that table. Draw that table. Take the shortest time possible to draw the table. Once done, let me know. You can type on comment. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Stella. Sanka. So, okay. So most of you are done. So we can now fill in. So I will identify, I will give, to start off, I will identify 2 coordinates. And after that, I will let the class to identify the others because you have mastered the concept. And then we finalize and then we draw the chart. So we start if the level of production is 0. How much will be our fixed cost? And as we define fixed cost is a cost that does not change with the level of production. So in that case, fixed costs, as you have been given in this question, we have labor 10,000, administration 5,000, overhead 15,000, selling and distribution 20,000. So add all those monies together. Add all those monies together. And type there the total you have gotten. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Margaret. So it's 50,000. So our fixed cost will be 50,000. So write it here, 50. Variable cost. How much will be our variable cost? And to get variable cost, because you have said variable cost depends with the number of units produced. So you come here and also add the variable costs that have been identified there. So you have direct raw material, we have direct labor, we have direct expenses, then we have variable overhead, then we have variable selling, and then we have variable administration. Who has the total? If you have the total, you can type. Thank you, Margaret. Thank you, Esther Pasanka. So, and Athan, and thank you. So now we have 14 shillings. Now to get variable cost, we'll do 14 shillings times the number of units produced. So 14 times 0, how much do you get? Fourteen times 0, how much? Thank you, 0. So right here, 0. So to get the total cost, we do fixed cost plus variable cost. Total cost is fixed cost plus variable cost. So if at all our 50,000 plus 0, how much do you get? 50,000 times 0, how much do you get? 50,000, thank you. So right there under total cost. So under 50 total cost, you write here 50K. Let's go to sales. Who has seen the selling price per unit? How much is selling price per unit? $20, yes. Now, if at all selling price is 20 and you have produced 0 units, how much are you going to sell to get from sales? 20 times 0. 0, thank you. To get profit, we do sales minus total cost. To get profit, we do sales minus total cost. So in that case, you're doing 0 minus 50,000. How much will be our profit? 0 minus 50,000. Thank you, Esther. Thank you. So it's negative. We'll get a loss of 50,000. Thank you all. So that's the profit. And remember, whatever we are concerned about, because we want to extract points of coordinate, then we'll have some points where profit will be negative, the way you have gotten, until we get where we'll get a positive, a realistic profit, a positive profit. So we progress. The second level of output, I'll also guess. Let's give it 2,000. So at 2,000, how much will be our fixed cost? At 2,000, how much will be our fixed cost? Hello, Do I need to repeat the definition of fixed cost? Okay, yes. At least I want to master the concept is 50,000. So you write there 50,000. So for fixed cost, it do not change. It will be consistently 50,000. How much will be our variable cost? So now to get variable cost, we said we get variable cost per unit, which was 14. We multiply by the units produced, which is 2,000. So 14 times 2,000, 28,000. Thank you. Now, to get total cost, we add fixed cost plus variable cost. Fixed cost plus variable cost. So 50,000 plus 28,000. How much is that? $78. Thank you. Now, sales. Our selling price was 20. 20 times 2,000. Thank you, 40,000. Profit. How much will be our profit? We said profit is sales minus total cost. So 40,000 minus 78,000. A loss of 38,000. Thank you. So now I'd like a volunteer to give us another level of output. It should not be less than 2,000. And remember, we have been told the maximum they produced is 20,000. So you should not choose less than 2,000. You should not choose more than 20,000. Any number that would like us to use. Ben has chosen 10,000. Let's go do that. 10,000. At 10,000, how much will be our fixed cost? Okay, yes, thank you. You have chosen 15, but Ne had already given us 10. So let's go with the 10. Fixed cost will be 50,000 still. Our variable cost. How much will be our variable cost? It's 10,000 times 14. $140,000, yes. How much will be our total cost? The total cost, thank you, 190,000. How much will be our sales? How much will be our sales? It's 200,000, thank you. How much will be our profit? How much will be our profit? 10,000, thank you. Someone has to give us another point of coordinate or another level of output, and it should not be less than 10,000. It should not be more than 20,000. $15,000. Okay, we'll do with that. 15,000. Who is giving us the fixed cost? Our fixed cost is constant, 50,000. You give me the variable cost at 15,000 variable cost. Thank you, 210,000. Total cost. Total cost. Think we're at 60,000. Sales. Sales. How much is sales? Thank you, 300,000. How much is profit? How much is profit? Thank you, 40,000. So finally, we do for 20,000. Do finally for 20,000. So fixed cost will still remain 50,000. Okay, the reason why we are doing, because I initially remember I said we must get a point where we are making losses, then a point where we are making profit, so that we are able to draft that particular graph. But now we have those two levels. We have our negative, our loss, and we also have a profit. So it means with that information so far, we can be able to come up with the points of coordinates, or we can come up with the curve. But now we are doing, because from the question, they said they produced, 20,000 units. So that means when we are coming up with the graph, we must have level for output must go up to 20,000, so that we capture that information. So in that case, we still, that will be useful. So how much will be variable costs? Variable cost if we produce 20,000 units. 280, thank you. 280. And then how much is our total cost? 330, thank you. How much is our sales? How much will be our sales? 400, thank you. How much will be our profit? 70, thank you. Believe with your participation, I believe you have mastered the concept. In case such a question comes in exam, you take home that 12 or 10 marks with a lot of ease. Now we have that, so we want to come up with a chart. So we draw. So as I had also asked you, if at all you have a graph paper, or you have square ruled, a square ruled book, you can draw from on that, and you draw to scale, because square ruled, at least you have box, will count the number of boxes, so you'll be able to draw to scale. But whatever I'm going to come up with, for me, it will be a sketch. So we said on this side we have sales. So just to confirm those who will give us the correct answer, how many have already sourced the square root? You can type there if you have a square root or you have a graph paper. Square root ni ile karatasi ya mathematics. Who has? Confirm if you have, you just can type there you have, so that we know how many will give us the correct answer. Stella doesn't have. Who have? Ada, do you have either square ruled or a graph paper? Esther have. Okay, so Esther, we rely on you. Who else apart from Esther? Okay, Arthur. Who else? At least if we get 3, we rely on their answer. The third one, who has at least? So Esther and Arthur, we rely on your output. So kindly pay a lot of attention so that the answer we get, we'll counter check with the doing graphical, doing the algebraic, so that we see if at all we get the correct answer. So, okay, Eda has a graph paper. So I'm relying on Esther, Arthur, and Eda. You'll give us the correct answer. But for the rest of us, we'll only have a sketch because you cannot draw to scale. Level of output. Now, remember the rule for drawing a graph is that you must utilize at least 3/4. Your graph should cover at least 3/4 of the graph paper, or the paper you are using, or the surface that you are using. You must cover at least 3/4. If at all you don't cover 3/4, then you'll have done it wrong. So in that perspective, the points of coordinates, we have said one, we look at a level of output, and then the second one, we look at sales. So on the level of output, the maximum is 20,000. So being 20,000, we'll split it into, I'll suggest we do it 2,000, 2,000, so that we have at least 10 lines. Now, if you are using the square ruled, you can count 2 lines, 2 boxes, and you indicate there 2,000, 2 boxes, 2,000. So you'll have this way 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I have here 2,000, 4,000, 6,000, 8,000, 10,000, 12,000, 14,000, 14. Then after 14, we have 16,000, have 18,000, we have 20,000, then we have 22,000, and finally 24,000. Fill in that. If you are using graph paper, you apportion in a way that you'll fill in those points. So on the sales side, our maximum sales was 400,000. Our highest level of sales was 400,000. So we can account for 40,000, 40,000, so that we get to we have 10 points. So we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I've said let's split into 40, 40. So I can have here 40,000. From 40 we'll go to 80. From 80 we'll go to 120. 160. Then we go to 200. Then we'll go to 240. Then we'll go to 280. Then we go 320. Then we go to 360. Then we go to 400. Then we'll go to 440. And then finally 480. Are we through? Or I believe you are feeling. Now, just another clarification. Just another clarification, because for my sake, I'm using need to write just a minute. Sorry. So saying that I was giving clarification because I couldn't write those zeros, and I don't want to mislead the persons who will be reading this particular curve. So you can put here 3 zeros, and so that we know where I have written, for example, 2 is 2000. Where I've written 4 is 4000, because those zeros have not been included. Also on the sales side, we'll also put here 3 zeros. To insinuate that the figures I've written is actually where there's 40 is 40,000, not just 40. So now once we have that, the simplest, the first graph we draw is fixed cost curve. And when you check on these points of coordinates, 50,000 has remained consistent. On under fixed cost is 50,000. It does not change regardless of the level of production. So go on your curve where there's 50,000, for instance, it could be somewhere here. Then you draw very nice straight line with a ruler and name it fixed cost curve. And name it fixed cost curve. So we want to look at the second. Now the second one, we want to come up with this total cost curve. Now, when we look at the total cost curve, at the total cost curve, we'll select any 2 points. One point could be on the where we made a loss, and another point where we have made a profit. Then we identify, we join the two. So I'll start off with the 2000. When we produce 2000, our total cost curve, our total cost was 78,000. So I come here. When we produce 2000 is here. Just select a different color so that I can demonstrate. So when we produce 2000, so trying to, because I don't have a ruler, I will try and get that. Our total cost was 78,000. So 78,000 is slightly below 80 there. Now you see where they intersect. Where they intersect here, I'll come and put here a mark. Put there a mark. The same way we are putting mark when you are drawing curves. It's not appropriate. So that mark should be where? Okay, I believe you are able to see that. And then I'll get another point of coordinate. Let's look at 15,000. If we produce 15,000, our total cost is 260. So I'll come back here. Let me choose another yellow. So when our level of production is 16, so this way we have 15 rather, 15. Our total cost at that level is 260,000. So I come and see where 260 is. 260 is in between here. So where they intersect, where there's this intersection, that's where I put a mark. Now, for your case, you get a ruler. Get a ruler and connect those two lines. Mark it total cost curve. Mark it as total cost curve. So we want to draw the last one. The last one. Okay, something else to remember. If at all we identify all the points that we have come up with on this table, then we are not likely to have a very straight line. We are not likely to have a straight line, but now the line will have, since it will not be very straight, and then whatever we are coming up, we refer to it as a line of best of fit. That if we'll have all those points, probably some points will fall above, some points will fall below, that way. But now we eventually will draw the line. We'll connect those that are close, those that can connect. So you don't have to fill in all that information. But when you are coming up with the table, we should come up with all that information. Though we are only interested in getting just two of them, then we are able to come up with the curve. So the last one is sales curve. Yes, sales curve. Then you look at it. When we produce 0, our sales is 0. So that means our sales curve will originate from here. Put their mark 0. Then you can choose another level. If we produce 15,000, our sales is 300,000. So usual, come here. That if we produce 15,000, we had already drawn that curve for 15,000. Our sales is 300,000. So you come here where 300,000 is. 300 is likely to be here. So that means we should draw our line to come and join here. So you take a ruler from 0 all the way. Then we refer to this as sales curve. Refer to that as sales curve. Now, where the two lines have intersected here, where the two lines have intersected, mark that as break even point. Break even point. Now, for those who used graph paper, kindly remind us what figure at what figure did it intersect? Ada, Arthur, and Esther. Are you done? You can tell us what figure on the level of production, how many units did it intersect? Arthur has 6,000. Someone else? Arthur has 6,000. Esther? Esther has 160,000. No? Esther, we are talking about level of output. And the level of output maximum is 20,000. So you can't get to 160,000 unless if you are using a different thing. Okay, 80. Hmm. 8,000 and yeah. So now let's confirm. Okay, let's finish up with this particular. So where they intersect. Thank you for those who have given us the answer. Now, where they have intersected, because majority of you have saying about 8,000. Now, from 8,000 up to 20,000, that's what mark that as level of safety. Or margin of safety. Or margin. Some books refer to it as margin, some books refer to it as a level. Margin of safety. And then this angle below the break-even point, mark it as loss. Mark it as loss. This angle above, mark it as profit. Profit. I said we'll counter check to confirm if at all you have done it correctly. And for us to confirm that, then you say that BEP, we had said BEP, using the algebraic, is equivalent to fixed cost divided by contribution per unit. And for us to get contribution per unit, we said is equal selling price minus variable costs. So in this perspective, our selling price was 20 shillings minus variable cost, which is 14, to get 6. And our fixed cost has been 50,000. So you can do 50,000 divided by 6 to get the break-even point. So do that and give me the answer. What's the answer? 50,000 divided by 8,300. So in that case, those who got 8,000 thereabout, we are closer to answer. We are closer home because it's about 8,300. So you could have missed some decimals or thereabout. So that's how we come up with the break-even point. So I'll send you the notes so that you go through the notes, because there are assumptions that we do make, and there are disadvantages or advantages that for us to do profit planning. You can go through them at your own time, and then we conclude that particular topic. So next week when we meet, we'll discuss, we'll go to financial accounting. And financial accounting, we have 4 topics. The first first topic we'll discuss is the dissolution of partnership. And then the second topic we'll do accounting for joint venture. Then after that, we'll do company accounts. Company accounts. So just to ask you, on Mondays, at what time do you have your first class?
8.
8, and it ends at 10.
Yes.
Okay. So, I thought it's not that early. So let's meet next week at 10. At 10, about 10:30, so that we can go up to 1.
Fine.
So, okay.
So.
So unless if there's any question or concern. Sanka, fixed cost cover is a straight line. You draw a straight line because with fixed cost does not change. So you identify where there's fixed cost, then you just draw a straight line parallel to the level of production. I hope that's clear. Stella, you want to say something?
No.
Okay. Anyone with a concern or a question? So Stella, pray for us. Stella, pray for us. Yeah. Stella, are you praying? Stella has muted. Anyone who is volunteering to pray for us? Ben, you are volunteering to pray. Pray.
Tuombe.
Okay.
Mwenyezi Mungu Baba yetu, tunakushukuru kwa sababu umetupea siku nyingine. Tunakushukuru kwa sababu umeweza kutupea muda kutoka ile masaa tuliweza kuanza masomo yetu mpaka saa hii tumeona tamati yake. Baba, tunakuomba uweze kumbariki kila mmoja ambaye ameweza kuwa pamoja nasi. Nenda ukambariki mwalimu, nenda ukambariki wanafunzi wetu, wale ambao wameweza kupata nafasi ya kuhudhuria masomo haya ya leo, na pia wale ambao hawakuweza kuhudhuria. Tunakuomba utupe akili ya kuweza kushika kile ambacho tunafunzwa na mwalimu wetu. Nenda ukatupe hekima, nenda ukatupe akili ya kukumbuka kila kitu ambacho tunaweza kufunzwa. Nenda ukatupe hekima, nenda ukatupe amani. Tunakuomba kila wakati ambao tunakuwa tukisoma, uwepo wako uwe katikati yetu. Tunakuomba utuongoze, nenda ukawe pamoja nasi kila wakati ambao tunaanza masomo yetu mpaka mwisho wake. Tunakuomba ukalinde kila mmoja baada ya haya masomo mpaka ile siku ingine Bwana Yesu Kristo tutaweza kukutana na kuendelea na masomo yetu. Nenda ukalinde kila mmoja, nenda ukamuongoze. Ni katika jina la Yesu Kristo tunaomba na kuamini.
Amen. Okay, thank you.
Amen.
Thank you. So have a wonderful week ahead. Let's meet next Monday, God willing, at 10.